I think so. Okay, so two news stories that I'd like to discuss today. The first is a follow-up to a story that I told you yesterday. So yesterday I told you there was a composer, a guy who had made a lot of music for Street Fighter V. He was interviewed in a podcast show. And on the podcast show, he was asked a speculative question about the future of Street Fighter and maybe some characters that would be returning in Street Fighter 6. To which he made a statement that was basically like, well, you know, I know some people who are friends of the Bruce Lee family, and the Bruce Lee family who own the rights to Bruce Lee's image and everything are very upset with the way that he's been portrayed lately. And therefore, they're basically shutting down anyone who's going to try to have him in any kind of a parody or comedic form in their content, meaning movies, video games, whatever. It wouldn't be allowed anymore. And the speculation is that this is based on how Bruce Lee was portrayed in the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a few years ago, where apparently he was kind of portrayed as a really cocky, arrogant, narcissistic pussy who got his ass beat by someone. And the family apparently saw that movie and were so upset by his portrayal that they said, we're shutting down any more portrayals like this. So he says this publicly on a podcast, but what he says is that it's speculation. He has no actual insider info. He's just saying, I think this is speculation, this might happen. All of a sudden, these gaming media sites pick up the story and start running it as if it's fact. Saying, composer for Street Fighter says Fei Long will no longer be in Street Fighter. But he didn't say that. He said he's speculating that could be based on situational stuff that's been happening. He never definitively said he had any information stating that. He certainly never said that Capcom said that, okay? But basically, yeah, all of gaming media kind of picked up the story and ran with it as if it was a factual story. So what happens? Capcom contacts the composer and says, you're fired. We don't need your services anymore because you just caused us so much drama. We have all these journalists contacting us, asking us if Fei Long will be in Street Fighter 6. We don't need this drama stuff. You should have kept your lips shut. You're fired. Yeah. It's kind of messed up, right? So, more developments have happened in the last 24 hours, okay? First of all, the composer is saying, well, the Lee family is not at fault here and Capcom is not at fault here. It's the journalists. The journalists picked up this non-story and off comment I made on a podcast that was only speculation, and it was a slow news day, so they reported it as if it were fact, misrepresenting what I said. That's how this got blown out of proportion. Blamed the journalists that ran the story like that, okay? However, JD, don't worry, I'm going to acknowledge your super chat. We don't acknowledge contributions till the end of the podcast. However, the Bruce Lee family have actually come out in response. Of all people, you guys remember Jake James Lugo? Remember him? Venomous Fat Man. He doesn't go by that anymore, but remember he used to be in my content back in the day. He was a fan of mine, and we did some podcasts together and stuff. Well, he actually did something really smart. He contacted the Bruce Lee family. He tweeted them and said, hey, can you guys comment on this story? Because right now there's a hell of a lot of speculation, and we'd like to get the story straight from the horse's mouth about what's going on. So they responded to his tweet and said, we never said anything about changing our attitude towards Bruce Lee or his portrayal anywhere at all. We don't know who this friend of the family, the game composer, is referencing, but it's certainly not anyone we know or talk about. This is not true whatsoever. Whoa. So this now has become a whole new twist. Because originally the story was composer who innocently makes an off-the-cuff comment on a podcast, gets it misrepresented and blown out of proportion, and loses his job because of games journalism. Now the story has become Street Fighter composer literally made shit up to get some kind of attention and maybe have a suspenseful, dramatic segment on a podcast, gets called out for it, and loses his job over it. You see? So this is very interesting. Very interesting that this has happened within like 48 hours. The entire story has changed and morphed and changed and morphed again. So at this point, who do you tend to believe? I mean, I would believe the Bruce Lee family. Why would they at one point say, oh, we're going to prevent people from representing Bruce Lee in one way, and then all of a sudden say, no, we didn't have said that? So I don't know. It sounds to me like this composer is, he's pretty boned. It sounds to me like he decided that he wanted to go on a podcast, maybe to get some attention for himself, and to do this spicy story about maybe Fei Long would not be in Street Fighter. And he probably absolutely never thought that gaming media would pick up the story. He probably never fathomed in a million years. He probably thought, oh, I'll just do this and, you know, be a little interesting segment to spice up this podcast or whatever. And it sounds like he's completely lied about this whole situation. He does not know anyone who's a friend of the Bruce Lee family, or whoever he's talking to is a liar themselves, in which case he shouldn't have even brought it up, right? Like, if he doesn't know, if it's all like, you know what it is? It's exactly what Capcom said yesterday. When Capcom was originally contacted about the story, they said, we're not going to respond because we don't respond to gossip and rumors and this kind of stuff. Because that's exactly what it is. It was always gossip and rumors. It was never confirmed. Even the guy said himself on the podcast, it's not confirmed. It's just, you know, this is what I heard. Should he have lost his job over it? I don't think so. I think it's stupid. I really do feel that if he did great composing work for Capcom, and that's, you know, what he's known for, that they like his work, why would you fire the guy over it? Is this really a giant negative story for Capcom that makes them look bad? No. It was just conjecture to begin with. You know, if you actually read the articles, the clickbait titles melt away when you read the body, and they actually report accurately that this guy was just kind of guessing. The problem really is the clickbaity titles. But I don't think he should have lost his job. Even if the guy was kind of messing around for dramatic reasons and trying to get a rise out of the podcast audience and get them interested or whatever, I still don't think he should have lost his job over it. But why is Capcom so afraid of any kind of press that they fire the guy like that? That just gets me. I could see them say, we got to have a meeting with you. And they pull him into an office. They say, listen, we like your work. All right. You did good work on Street Fighter V. We like the music. You can't do this because this is going to start speculation and rumor. Please stop. Instead, it's just, you're fired. What the hell? That's stupid. Right.